This is how my brother Mickey sits on long car rides. It's like he puts himself into a trance and it helps him pass the time. We were headed to Chicago. It's not that far of a drive from where I live, and it was the weekend for Taste of Chicago, the biggest outdoor food festival in the United States. So you know I had to be there. But there was a lot to see in the city before I visited the food festival. First up was the Shedd Aquarium. Despite the name, the place was much bigger and much nicer than a shed. Haha. It had an impressive amount of sea life, and I don't want to disparage a beloved Chicago institution, but the further you go into the depths of the building, the more it smells like low tide. I shouldn't be surprised, right? But I started to worry that I was going to smell like the aquarium for the rest of the day. Nope, I still smelled great. And I was good to head out to Chicago's famous home of Cajun cuisine, Heaven on 7. The wall is lined with hundreds of hot sauce bottles, and labeled with an ominous sign. My dad sampled probably a dozen hot sauces, and I was able to try chicken and waffles for the first time. If I'd known it would be this crunchy and full of bacon and maple syrup, I'd have figured out a way to try it a long time ago. Next up was the Museum of Science and Industry. Now this place is amazing, I'm not kidding. From airplanes hanging overhead to scale models of the city of Chicago, to a mountain range with a railway so charming that a bald guy will walk up to a woman he doesn't even know and put his arm around her. This place had everything. Here you see Mickey and me competing in a cow milking contest. And he beat me, even though I was certain I had what it takes. There was a model castle that I thought was pretty cool, but you wouldn't believe how many guys walked up to it, spun around and walked away full speed. I have a lot more confidence in my masculinity, I guess. Looking at a model castle for princesses isn't going to make you a princess.
I feel like a princess.
Saying you feel like a princess though? Hey, the jury's out. In a super high-tech section of the museum, you can get sucked into a man-made tornado, or even capture non-corporeal spirits in some sort of ghost trap. This one got super mad when it escaped though. Haunted us for most of the rest of the time we were at the museum. There was some sort of magical forest mirror maze that seemed like a great excuse for people to run into you over and over again. But Mickey and I got through it pretty easy. At the Chicago Field Museum, we were able to visit 2011's best restroom in America. Not kidding. And then hang out with Sue, the world famous Tyrannosaurus Rex. Coolest of all though, was the section devoted to my Viking ancestors. We got to excavate digital archaeological digs and handle a replica sword to experience its weight. Finally though, we made it to the Taste of Chicago. I was worried it was going to be rained out, but the clouds slowly dissipated as we entered. First food I sampled was from Nigeria. I have here a taste of sauteed goat and plantain. The goat is delicious. Mick was a big fan of the goat meat.
I agree with Remy. The goat is great.
The plantain tastes like a sweet potato. The festival went on and on. It was pretty cool to get up close to the fountain from the beginning of Married with Children. I've only seen a few episodes of that show, but it's pretty impressive how most of the stars went on to long careers after the show ended. A food truck called the Bruges Brothers served, among other things, French fries fried in duck fat. I can't really use my audio from on location, as we were right near a stage with a band playing copyrighted music. But on camera I said, and I quote, "Those are some good duck fat fries." Mickey and I sampled southern fried chicken, steamed dumplings, and I was able to try watermelon gazpacho. All in all, I ate a bunch of delicious food, and some strange food. But nothing I found there was as odd as what I brought along myself. Earthworm jerky. Earthworms are eaten in some places in Africa, by the Maori of New Zealand, and by certain indigenous people of Venezuela. Also by Remy Mumby at Grant Park in Chicago. Once again, I can't use the sound and location because a band was playing on the stage nearby and I can't include their music. A freshly opened can of Earthworm Jerky smells like worms on the ground after it rains. Big time. And they taste like they smell, only saltier, leathery, and like Satan himself made them in his very own Ronco food dehydrator with worms he dug up from his own putrid compost heap. They're horribly tough and completely revolting. One of the worst things I've ever eaten. And what do you know? A food with earth in its name that I didn't describe as earthy. I must be growing up. It's probably the Earthworm Jerky that aged me. It's just disgusting.